Hey fam. So I actually saw John Wick 3 on Friday last week and I'm just now doing my review. And it's John Wick 3 Parabellum and this movie was good, y'all. I mean, if you are at all into action movies, this is one of the best ones, I gotta say. So let's get right into it. We have, of course, Keanu Reeves, who plays John. Holly Berry plays Sophia in this movie. Lawrence Fishburne has returned here. He plays the Bowery King. Then we have Ian McShane, who plays Winston, the guy who runs that hotel. And Angelica Houston is in this one, and this is her first time in any of the John Wick movies. She plays, her character is just called the director. Then we have Asia Kate Dillon. She plays the adjudicator. And Asia Kate, I didn't know this until this weekend. I started watching Orange is the New Black, and ironically, she's in, what is it, season 5 of Orange is the New Black where I saw her. And it's crazy because the other girl who was in the Orange is the New Black, Ruby Rose, she was in John Wick 2. It's like they're coming over. I find that interesting. Okay, then we have Lance Reddick, and he plays Sharon. He's the guy who works at the front desk, the black guy who takes care of John's dog. And then we have Mark DeCasas. He plays Zero, and basically he's the head of the ninja crew in this one, and he is amazing in this movie. Okay, so sorry I'm a little sick. I know you could hear the congestion. Okay, so this movie pretty much picks up almost directly where the last one left off, maybe a day or so in there, if that. And the movie immediately begins with a $14 million contract placed on John Wick's head. That's where the movie's starting at. The phone call was made in, and he was basically notified he had an hour until it was kicking in. So John's trying to run around and take care of last minute business, basically, before the world tries to assassinate him. Okay, so the moral of this $14 million contract on John's head is basically that one does not insult the high tables as John did and expect to live in killing old boy at the hotel, which was supposed to be the safe ground there. Okay, so we see John basically not able to take a few steps once this is all put into place because he's a target and people are seeing him. Like, this hour's starting to run out and he's walking down the street and there's people all over who are being notified, you know, oh, it starts at this time. That's when he's open fire on him. So within this time frame, he is making his way over to the library in New York City. And when he gets there, I must say, this guy attacks him, and this guy is freaking tall, like crazy tall and crazy thick. He looks like Andre the Giant as far as his limbs, you know, the length of him, and even he looks a little like, you got to see this guy. I don't know his name. He has strange looking ears. He reminds me of Andre the Giant, but like on a bony level. Anyway, this guy is in the library with John, and he's coming after John, and John's like, I still have a few minutes, you know, before this sets in. And he's like, yeah, but I'm feeling like it's $14 million, and if I take you out a couple minutes or before, who the hell's going to know? So they end up going at it in the library, and it's a good fight. It is a good fighting scene. And ultimately, John whoops this giant's ass with a book. He's beaten all over with a book. You'd really have to see it to believe it. Let me see. Everyone who had John's back basically has to abandon him. They know that if they help him in this game, they'll end up dead. That's what it'll boil down to. So let me see. The adjudicator shows up to warn and punish all who helped John, basically, at all, even a little after he was stripped of the organization protection. And I mean, she's going in, y'all. Excuse me. Okay, so he is shot basically on the street as he left the library, or yeah, I think it's as he left the library. He gets shot on the street, like in his shoulder, before the time of his protection actually runs all the way out. So he goes to the dock, basically. And I don't know if this is the same guy who played the key guy in The Matrix, but it looks a hell of a lot like him, okay? So the doc basically, we pretty pretty much told him, I can't let you in. And John's like, I still have 4 minutes. You know, he's like, fix me up so I can go on. So he lets him in. And let me see, he's almost completely out of time. He's almost turned away, as I said. And the doc ultimately ends up letting him in, and he's starting to stitch him up. And literally, as the moment turns to that 1 hour, the doc puts the needle down like, I can't help you at all. So from there, he tells John, you know, what medicines to take. But then he also tells him, no one's going to believe that I didn't help you after the time. And he's like, you're going to have to shoot me. So he does, okay? He shoots the doc twice, and he points at the spot and tells him, because he knows he'll live through it, but it had to be done so that they didn't kill the doc for helping John. Okay, so flashback real quick to the library, because while John was at the library, he recovers a crucifix necklace. It's basically a ticket, if you will, for safe passage. Basically, he has this crucifix thing, and he must have had it a long time ago because it was inside of a book that was cut out, a Russian book. And he carries it with him, and it's his ticket to safe passage, basically. So he is sent to, he goes and meets with the director, Angelica Houston's character. And she runs like some crazy-ass, it almost looks like an orphanage where all the kids, the girls are ballerinas, and they're always practicing every doggone day, ballet. And the boys are like in wrestling all the time. I don't know, it looks a little off to me. Anyway, excellent dancing at that school though. All right, so basically, she didn't want to hear him, and then she finally did, and she took his crucifix, which allows him to go to Casablanca, which is where he's headed to now. Okay, let me see. When he gets there, he meets up with a former friend of his, Sophia, and this is Halle Berry's character. And literally, as soon as he walks in, she shot him. Like, I don't know what he did to piss her off before, but damn, she was waiting on that. Shot him good. All right, so basically, she needs to help him, even though they're going back and forth, you know, over stuff that happened in the past and her daughter being gone and whatever. She takes him to an assassin, basically, that's, I guess, a really good one because he's highly decorated and respected out there. She takes him to this assassin who tells him that he may find the elder that he needs to speak to, who can remove the bounty on his head by wandering through the desert until he can't any longer. I'm like, damn, so there's like no guarantee there? If I go get lost in the desert and I pass out, I could just die? Like, there's no guarantee I'll run into this fool? Anyway, excuse me. So for this information that he's given, relayed to John, basically he says that he wants one of Sophia's dogs. Ooh, I forgot to talk about Sophia's dogs, y'all. Damn. Okay, I have to say this. Halle Berry worked her ass off. Okay, I know this because I follow her on IG. But anyway, in this movie, like even when we got to her house, she had 2 dogs there, and these are what the heck are they? Shepherds, German Shepherds. That's what the dogs are. And her dogs are like guard dogs, but like assassin level trained guard dogs. Damn, y'all. Okay, so like I said, for giving them this information, he's like, I want one of your dogs. And she's like, no. She's absolutely flat out no. That's a hard no. So what does this fool do? He shoots the dog, y'all. And she's freaking out, running over to her dog, you know, dog is dead. So she had 3 when she showed up there, and now she's got 2. And as this shit happens, John's trying to like get her to chill out because he knows the anger's rising inside of her. And, you know, she's over her dog, whatever. And then Sophia pops off, y'all. She gets her gun. She shoots this fool in the leg. And he's got an army of men around them, basically. So this entire scene that takes place here is John Wick with Sophia and her 2 dogs going against a small army. And her dog, oh my, the whole time she's fighting, whenever she gets into certain little predicaments where she can use them, which is quite often here, she's making little sounds to them, and they're coming, doing like exactly what she thought in her head that they should do. It is amazing, you guys. I'm like, Damn, I've never seen anything like this, and they definitely, I watched interviews afterwards. I think they trained with these dogs for like 6 months, 2 to 8 months. Some intense and severe training. Okay, so basically, they end up going through all this fighting, and once they're done, they prevail, of course. And she takes John to the desert and drops him off. But before she drops him off, y'all, ew, this was so nasty. Okay, so she had like this big bottle of water, and she gets out of the truck and she puts the bowl down and she's giving her dogs the water. And there's like a little bit of water left. And so she drinks some, and then she holds the bottle of water to John, like here, and he goes to reach it, and she takes it back and she puts it in her mouth and gargles with, she gargles with it, okay, and then she spits it back in the bottle and hands it to him. He must have really pissed her off before. I don't know what he did, but damn, that was nasty, y'all. Okay, so basically she drops him off there, and he does exactly what he was told. He wanders through the desert until he can't anymore. So basically he passes out. Excuse me. And when he wakes up to the elder that he was told about, who, after speaking to him and explaining what's going on there, the elder agrees to remove the bounty that's on his head if he assassinates Winston, the guy who runs the hotel back in New York where all this stuff popped off at in the first place, and also if he continues to work for the high table, okay? So John agrees to this, and as to show a sign of faith, he cuts his own finger off, and it's so nasty. I'm like, anyway, okay. So then we flash back over to New York again, and the adjudicator, she has gone into, I guess it's a restaurant where Zero, the Asian assassin, he works there, and she recruits him basically. She recruits him and all of his men, all of his followers, to enforce the will of the high table, basically. So now she's got some badass, serious fighters behind her to enforce the law. Okay, with their assassins, she basically assaults the director, Angelica Houston's character, and the Bowery King, Lauren Fishburne's, for helping John after he was stripped of the protection. To Angelica Houston, she makes her put her hands together, and somebody runs a sword through both of her hands. That's the price she pays. And then for Lawrence Fishburne, because his character gave John Wick 7 bullets, she has a guy stand in front of the Bowery and slash all over him. I mean, from his face down 7 times. That's what he has to pay, his penance he has to pay. Let me see. So basically, they're both left maimed after this. Okay, so when John returns to New York, he is attacked by Zero and his men in the most amazing knife fight. You have never seen anything like this, y'all. I can never do it justice. This knife fight was so smooth, from the choreography to the directing to the cinematography. I mean, it is insane. It is literally so smooth that at times it's comical. It's ridiculous. John Wick is highly skilled when it comes to some knife fighting. Let me see. So he barely makes it out of that fight, basically. And he makes it over to the sanctuary at the Continental. And it's crazy because when he gets there, he has to wait like in a waiting room to speak to Winston. And Zero, the Asian assassin who was, trying to kill him moments ago, comes in, and John sits like on the couch, like, off to one side. And Zero comes in. Mind you, there's the couch John's sitting on and the one next to it. And Zero comes and sits like right on him, uncomfortably. And he's like, he's trying to kick it with this fool, like, I admire you. Some crap he's saying, and you can't help but laugh because not even 30 seconds ago, you was trying to murder this motherfucker. And right now, oh, he's someone you admire. He's a homeboy. It's even funny, okay? It's a good moment. Okay, so basically, he ends up meeting with Winston, who tries to convince John not to die as a killer, basically, but a man who loved his wife and whose wife loved him back. He's really trying to convince him of that. And then the adjudicator shows up. This bitch, I am sick of her and watching her. Somebody needs to take the bitch out. Okay, so she shows up, and she had already told Winston before, you're going to give up the hotel. You're going to give up your position, basically. And when she gets there, he refuses to give up his office as she told him he would have to do. And John also lets her know that he's refusing to kill Winston. That was a deal he made to get the bounty removed from his head. All right, so the adjudicator deconsecrates. I can't even read my own handwriting. Deconsecrates the Continental, which basically allows assassins to kill in the building. This building that was once held as like a sacred safe ground, like a church. No one fought once they got in there. She stripped it of that title, basically. Anything goes, all the killers can come in and do their killing. So basically, after she does that, she sinks Zero and a ton of assassins on both Winston and John. Okay, so John and Sharon, I hope I'm saying that right, Sharon, the guy who works at the front desk, the black guy who takes care of John's dog. Those two end up fighting off all these guys, basically. And let me see. After they're all fought off, Winston tries to sway the adjudicator by betraying John, basically, by shooting him off the Continental roof. So he shot John, he goes down. No one can think he survived that. The Continental, after she sees him do that, she returns the Continental to the business as usual, basically. It's now a sacred ground again. The adjudicator warns, basically, though, that John's body has disappeared and he's still a threat at this point. And the next thing they show is John is being dropped off to the Bowery King, Lawrence Fishburne's character. And he's badly, you see the scars on his face like he's jacked up. And he's telling John that he's like freaking pissed with the high table and he's ready to fight against them all. Like, he is so pissed. And he's like, "Are you with me, John?" And John ends up looking at him and he agrees immensely, okay, minus all the words. So basically, this is the end of the movie, y'all. And obviously, they have to make a part 4 here. This movie was too damn good. Man, it was good. I'm going to say I liked 1 because the story was amazing. I love the story behind it. I felt the fighting was subpar. It was nowhere near as good as this movie. In part 2, I liked the fighting a lot better in that one. I think this is my favorite one. Anyway, for this one, I'd give it an 8.5, 9. Excellent movie. You really need to see it. It is somewhat gory, but if you're an action movie fan, then you already know what it is. Anyway, hope you go see it. Let me know what you think in the comments, all right? If you like my videos, please hit the like button and become a subscriber, okay? Thanks for watching.